This next step requires you to connect the Digi directly into your computer. So this device will ship with a static IP on ETH2. So in order for you to actually use this modem and communicate with it over your network, you have to change that default IP address that's static to either a DHCP reserved address or a static IP that's compatible with your network that's managed by your IT department. So in this case here, I had this modem uh, connected directly to my laptop's Ethernet port. My computer can talk directly to it through Ethernet. Now the computer will automatically do the crossover for the Ethernet connection. So there's really nothing you need to do outside of power up the modem and plug it directly into your computer. The only problem with that is that uh, you have to configure your computer's network card to be in the same network address range as this modem. And if you look at the manual from Digi, and let me just bring up my screen here. In the Digi guide, there's a section here. This is buried on page 50. This is for setting up the local web interface. And on here, it gives some instructions on how to set this up. Again, this is on page 50. Digi's manual will be pointing you to talk to this initially through the internet, and you don't need to. It says use the Ethernet cable to connect to ETH2 on a laptop or PC. Open a browser to 192.168.2.1. Now, in order for this to actually work, your computer has to have an IP address that starts with 192.168.2. Whatever. So you have to go into your computer under settings and make an alteration to your network configuration. So you go to your network card, and on here I go to Ethernet. It's going to be different depending on what operating system you're running on. And if I go to change adapter settings, shows my adapter, and typically it's going to be DHCP controlled from your IT department. You have to go under properties, and properties pops up, and go to Ethernet Protocol version 4. This is actually your IP address for your computer. You can manually override the settings. And if you go to properties, it opens up this little window. Typically, it's going to be set by your IT department to obtain an IP address automatically. And the same thing with DNS. And that's going to be your default settings you're going to want to set it back to anyway after you're done with this. But in order to communicate with this modem, you need to program in your computer's IP address to match the same range as the modem. So I put in 192.168.2.2, and the modem is actually 2.1. And subnet mask, you just leave that as the default that pops up. 255.255.250 is fine. Just click save, close this out, and just remember you have to get back in here, so don't necessarily close out the whole window. Now it's saying go to this browser. So I go type it in, I'll get a prompt here that gives you all kinds of errors. That's because this is actually using port 443 and talking to the device using security, and there's no certificates on your computer. This is typical of anything that uses TLS certificates that are private, and that basically when you buy hardware from anyone, it's going to show up like this no matter what. So you're going to have to click on advanced. Click on the button that says unsafe. And again, that's normal with any kind of piece of hardware like this. Now, the username is going to be admin, but the password to get into the modem is going to be on this little sticker that you see. It's on the sticker. It's also on another part of the package. So it comes in the packaging. You have to make sure that you don't lose the password that's on here. or actually the MAC address. The MAC address that shows up on these little stickers, that's the MAC address for the WAN Ethernet port 1. And if you're going to arrange a DHCP address reservation for this modem, it's the actual MAC address is not printed on anything. You can figure it out by looking at the sticker. This it's hard to read with this specific camera, but the MAC address is printed right on here, and the this one here says 0004 F34 F and then 00, then 60. Now, the next MAC address, taking the last number of the MAC address. Now, these are hexadecimals, so you kind of have to understand hex to be able to know what the next value will be. This is 60, so 61 would be the next hexadecimal. So when I go to actually set up a DHCP reservation, that would be the number I would give to IT. Actually, it's probably easier to give the MAC address that's on the sticker and tell the IT department that it's the next MAC address, and they'll be able to understand what the math is, especially if the last numbers are like a letter, like an A or an F. They'll be able to understand what that means. So I have the password, and I'm going to enter in the password. Okay. Now, once you log into the device, you'll be able to see the user interface. So this is telling me, because I put in my SIM card into the unit, it's telling me that I have a valid connection. It shows LTE signal good. If you have if you're in an area with a little bit better reception than I have here, you're going to get more than 3 bars, but 3 bars is fine. Actually, with SMS modems and SMS text messaging in general, the bandwidth requirements are very low. So even if you don't have a great connection, you're not going to lose SMS messages. Even in the case of like a 4G LTE card, like what I have on here, the internet might not work when it's got low number of bars, but the text messages will go out. Now, in the interface here, the one thing that we're going to look at immediately here is to configure the Ethernet card, so I don't have to have this directly connected to my computer for configuration purposes. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to ETH2 on the user interface and network device. Click on ETH2. And the next thing I'm going to go to systems, device configuration, and then you have the complicated user interface. There's a lot of different settings in here. So there's only a few things on here that you're going to have to touch. There'll be items related to the serial port, the network, and there's a couple other things that you may touch in your configuration of this modem. But the main one that you're going to go to right now is network, and you're going to scroll through here, and you're going to look for interfaces, and then ETH2. And then ETH2 has all these different kinds of settings that are on here. The one that you're interested in is the IP4 address. Now, by default, it's set up to be static IP. I'm going to want to control this device using a DHCP address reservation. I'm going to go into my DHCP server. I'm going to use the MAC address that I was showing you on the back of the sticker. I'm going to add 1 to that hexadecimal, and I'm going to configure that as being an address reservation on my DHCP server. So I won't be programming in a static IP address in here. It'll be managed by my IT department. So I'm going to click on DHCP address. And then after this is really the only thing I want to change on this right now. So I can talk to it through my network. And then the next button I'm going to click is apply. and now it's got it's saying success. And when I reboot this device, it's going to get whatever DHCP reservation it's in there, um, that IT is made for the device. So at this point here, I'm going to disconnect it from my computer, and I'm going to plug it into the computer network and do the same thing with my computer.
For this next step, I'm going to show you, this is a Zixel modem, how you set up a DHCP reservation. Click on static configuration. It'll be different from system to system. The concept is the same, which is typically there's a lookup for anything that's pulled in an address from the DHCP server that's just randomly given from a group of IP addresses. And in this case here, it shows my DHCP server is picking up that this is a digi at, this is the IP address that it's giving me. And if I click on it, this one here gives me back the MAC address. In some cases, your DHCP addressing will require you to manually enter in the MAC address. But in this case here, this is the MAC address. As I mentioned before, it ends in 61. This pulled it up as being 61. I can create the address reservation right here with the same number if I want to, or change it. So in this case here, I'm going to create that reservation with the IP address of 88. So every time that modem is plugged in, it's going to pull the same IP address. So I'm going to click OK. It's going to update it. Now it becomes a static IP. And for this one, I've got to click enable. Okay, so now I've set it up. So the next step I'm going to want to do here is go to that IP address, 88. And I get the same login prompt that I got before, except for now it's a DHCP reserved address. I have the same login prompt and I need the same long password to be able to access it.